Ever since the 2019 album, The Wizard, it seems like it's impossible to listen to Future without hearing that iconic
ATL Jacob, ATL Jacob.
Jacob has produced countless songs for Future, and on Future's latest album, I Never Liked You, Jacob landed 9 out of the 22 songs, which is insane. Although Jacob is most known for his hard-hitting trap beats, he also produced Future's Grammy-winning R&B hit with Drake and Thames, Wait For You. So today we're gonna dive into both the trap and R&B sides of Jacob's production and find out just what it is that has Future so addicted to using his beats. Most of Jacob's beats for Future have a fast, futuristic, and high energy kind of feeling. A great example of this futuristic trap production is on Future and Kanye West's Keep It Burnin'.
ATL Jacob, ATL Jacob.
The first thing that sticks out to me here is the repetitive and futuristic melody. So I grabbed a similar melody from my Euphoria kit and sped it up to get a starting point for our melody. Now this loop is pretty crazy, but when you listen to Keep It Burnin', you can hear a crazy ambient vocal that really gives the beat a unique vibe. So to replicate that sound, I took a vocal stem from the Euphoria kit and added some heavy processing to get that futuristic sound that Future keeps coming back to. To keep going with that futuristic synth style melody, I grabbed this pad from my mini stash analog lab bank and laid down this super simple pattern. Now, on almost all of Jacob's songs with Future, there's a super repetitive synth melody. A great example is on FNN.
I got the H in front of the little bowl. Got dog food and it's for the low.
And the reason that these repetitive melodies work so well with Future is because it gives it a very high energy and it also makes it super easy to rap over. So to do something similar, I grabbed this preset from my mini stash analog lab bank and put down this pattern. And to add the cherry on top, I added this super gritty synth brass preset to really enhance that futuristic and unique energy. One key reason Future keeps choosing Jacob's beats is because they're simple. And right now, although our melody sounds super cool, it's got too much going on and it would be super hard to fit a vocal on top of that. So to make sure our beat is actually simple enough, we're going to use a technique that Jacob used on Holy Ghost. What he does is change the melody in every different section of the beat, instead of playing all of the melodies at once. This, 1, keeps the beat evolving and interesting, and 2, it makes sure that there's never too many sounds playing so that Future's vocal can always be the star of the show. So let's listen to how he did this on Holy Ghost. So let's do something similar with our melody. So instead of having everything playing at once, the first thing I did was just start with the loop and the vocal combined. And then for the next section, I just took in that first synth pad that we made, the synth brass, and the vocal chop. So as you can see, I never have more than 3 elements playing at once, and that's really gonna help give more space for a rapper's vocal on top of this. And then to switch it up one more time and to make sure that we don't have too many sounds playing, I brought in that repetitive synth melody and I took out everything else but just the synth brass. So now we have a great foundation for the beat. But if you ask me, the best part of an ATL Jacob beat are those hard-hitting drums. Jacob typically has 5 main sounds in his beats: 808, a hi-hat, a main snare or clap, a bounce snare, and an open hat. So he makes sure that he doesn't put too many sounds in the beat, but he does make sure that each sound has a unique rhythm and pattern. And this really enhances his bounce and helps his beats stand out from just the standard 2-step hi-hat pattern. And one of the key elements to his bounce are his hi-hats. So the first thing I'm gonna do is drag in some hi-hat midis from the Euphoria kit and build from there. Oh, I like this one. That sounds fire, but if we listen to For a Nut off Future's last album, Jacob uses some pretty crazy hi-hat rolls. So I want to add a crazy long hi-hat roll like he did in that pattern. So I drew in this super long and fast hi-hat roll, but I also made sure that the velocity was going down as the roll was playing. And this just helps give it a really cool falling kind of effect. Now that we've got a nice bounce going, let's add a clap. Now, it wouldn't be an ATL Jacob beat without those crazy 808s. And in his recent work like For a Nut and Keep It Burnin', he uses a trick on his 808s that really gives it a unique and cool texture. You can hear that the 808 doesn't really sound like it's super punchy. So to recreate that, let's first grab an 808 from the Euphoria kit and bring that into a sampler. So an easy way to get that kind of soft and not as punchy 808 sound is if you go into your sampler and then you go into the envelope right here and you take the attack and you bring it over. And obviously, if you do this too much, it's not going to be hard enough to be an 808. So I'll let you hear this effect super dramatically and then I'll bring it into where we would actually use it. You hear it's kind of like ducking in and out. We bring it back a little bit. Sounding kind of cool. And then one other thing I do to get that nice kind of crispy distorted sound that he has in those 808s is I add this clipping distortion right here. And then even though it seems kind of counterintuitive, I boost the high end on this 808 and I take away some of the low end. And what this does is it takes out the super boomy low end frequencies and it makes the 808 sound more like an instrument and less just like a bass sound. So with context, it sounds like this. Now let's add a simple open hat. And then one of my favorite elements of ATL Jacob's drums, those crazy snare rolls. How you gonna cost a nigga that rockin' with I got you lit in the city. To make these crazy snare rolls, you're gonna wanna make sure that your MIDI pattern is in triplet mode. So you can do that by going into the left right here on Logic, and then on the time quantize, choose the 1/8 triplet. And then you can draw on a pattern something like this. But for this beat, I dragged in some snare rolls from the Euphoria kit, and this is what all the drums sound like together. Now when we add back our melody, this is what the whole beat sounds like. One of the biggest things you can do to make your drums hit harder is have quality sounds. So if you're sick of using weak drum sounds and you like the sounds in the last beat, all of them are from my Euphoria kit that I dropped with AO Sim, who is actually signed to ATL Jacob. So you can trust that these sounds are crazy and they'll definitely help give you that authentic ATL Jacob sound. It's got drums, melody, and drum midis, and some crazy hard trap loops to help get you that future kind of sound. So if you want your beats to knock, make sure to click the link in the description to check that out. Future is a super versatile artist, so it's no surprise that Jacob caught a new wave with him with the 2022 hit Wait For You. So let's actually break down how Jacob makes these more chillful and melodic beats for Future. First, we gotta listen to the original sample for Wait For You.
Tell me now, I need you to be clear. I will wait for you, for you.
You can see in this video that there are only 3 sounds in this sample: a guitar, a bass, and those heavenly vocals. So let's start our sample out by recording some smooth guitar chords. And then let's add some guitar accents. Now I'm going to play in a live bass line just like in Wait For You. Now we have a nice and smooth foundation for our sample, but the thing that really takes the Wait For You sample to that next level are those crazy vocals by Thames. So the first thing we need is a catchy lead vocal. And trust me, it's gonna turn out crazy, but you're gonna have to bear with me through the process because I'm definitely not a singer. We in and out of love. This feeling won't stop. No. But I felt like it needed some backing vocals to really take it to that next level. And then to thicken it up, I recorded the same thing 3 times. Once I had this, I sent it to my vocalist Sarah Kennedy to reperform, and this is what her vocal sounds like with the guitars.
We in and out of love. This feeling won't stop.
As you can tell, this is sounding fire, but it's definitely not sounding like Wait For You yet. So let's go over how you can fix that. The first thing I want to mention is I purposely recorded everything at a slower BPM so that I could pitch and speed it up later. So the first thing we're going to do with our sample is speed it up and mess with the pitch. So from here, one thing I wanted to do is create some more separation between the vocals and the guitars. So how I did this is I pitched the vocals up and then I pitched the guitars down. And what this did is it just gave the vocal more space because it's alone in the high frequencies and the guitars are taking the mid and lower frequencies. So I grabbed this sound shifter plugin and I pitched all the vocals up 3 semitones. And then I put sound shifter on the guitars and pitched them all down 9. And the reason that I pitched them down 9 is because if you go up 3 and then you go down 12, which is a full octave, you get to -9. And together with the vocals, once I had that, I bounced it all down into one audio file, and then I added a ton of effects to give it a cool sampled feeling. I pitched everything up 6 semitones, and then I brought the BPM up to 166. Now let's walk through some of those effects. The first thing I did was put on this decimort filter, which really just took out a bunch of high end, and some sauce that I've just learned is if you put up this jitter knob, it gives it a cool warped kind of sound to it. So this is before and after that. Then I added this RC20 Vinyl 2 preset. Then I added another sound shifter. Wonder how many sound shifters I gotta add to this one. And then I brought it back down 4 semitones because I felt like it was a little too high. But now I felt like we didn't have enough high end for this sample to be super ear catching. So I went into an EQ and I put this dramatic filter right here, boosting the high end and taking out some of the lower mids. And then finally, I added this radiator plugin just to give it some kind of tape saturation and distortion. And after all of those effects, this is the final sample. A major reason that Wait For You is such a hit is because Jacob knew to keep it simple and let the sample speak for itself on this one.
You know what I'm saying? Like, even with the drums, I ain't want the drums to do so much. They gotta feel organic.
As you can hear from that video, Wait For You was made up of 5 main elements: the sample, a kick, hi-hat, snare, and an open hat. Super simple. So let's break down those drums. If you listen to the hi-hats on Wait For You, they're just a simple 2-step pattern. But the way that Jacob makes them unique and interesting is by subtly having them pan from left to right. So let's do that on our beat by using this tremolo plugin. Then let's add a simple open hat at the end of every 8 bars, just like in Wait For You. After that, all we need is a simple kick and snare pattern like in Wait For You. But to make these drums sound a little bit more organic and natural, I'm gonna add some bounce kicks and some bounce snares. The key with these bounce drums is to lower the volume down to make it have a more human kind of vibe. Quick reminder, you can get all these drum sounds in the description below. But anyways, once we put it together with the sample, this is what our finished Wait For You style beat sounds like.
I love you, coffee.
If you want to see one of Lil Baby's songs with ATL Jacob deconstructed, click this video right here.